Amber, you can go ahead and stop. There you go. Sharing the slide. So this is a building that has stood in some shape or form for over 200 years. It was first built by Native American workers during the Spanish colonial era in California's history as a very simple, very basic adobe structure that housed cowhands and their livestock. So it was a place of labor and a place of work, and that continued for over 200 years. But over time, this also became a family home. And so as we're looking in the home now, we're seeing what this space looked like for the last family who lived here, the family of Florence and Fred Bixby. And we're sort of stepping into the 1920s and 1930s on this tour. So I'm going to hang a right here into the library. And this is where we will begin our tour and introduce you to Florence Bixby. And our intern Marion is going to introduce you to the library in Florence's own words. So I'm going to head right into the library here. So go ahead, Marion.
Florence Bixby wrote an essay in 1936 called The Old Room. She described this room as a beautiful room, large, oblong-shaped, a few soft rugs on the floor, bookcases lining the walls, and a skylight overhead. It had seen many changes, but for many years now, it had been the living room of this family. She looked around and wondered, as she often had, at its charm. She knew that all who entered this room felt its peacefulness and beauty, almost like a blessing.
Thanks, Marion.
Florence Bixby was deeply involved with education for her children and for women in the community. To dive more deeply into her involvement with education, we know that Florence Bixby was the early president of the College Women's Club, a group of women who provided support, understanding, and guidance for women in education. The club held fundraisers and benefit events at Rancho Los Alamitos and throughout Long Beach. They worked together to fundraise money for scholarships, assist women to enroll in college and to graduate, and provide mentoring, guiding college women to life after college and informing them about career opportunities. The club helped to empower women during a time when society offered women fewer options than today.
Thank you, Marion. And Amber can share two photographs now. We've got a picture of the Bixby family first. We can share them at a later point in the program. Oh, there we go. I'm seeing it. Are others seeing it? You can give us a thumbs up reaction, maybe.
I see some thumbs up. All right, good deal.
Fantastic. Thank you for your patience.
There we go.
Yeah, and so there's the College Women's Club that Marion was speaking to, meeting at Rancho Los Alamitos. In 1924, this photograph was published in the Long Beach Press Telegram, and you can see Florence there on the right-hand side of the image in the black hat. And so it's a nice glimpse into women organizing to empower other women in the early 1900s. In addition to education, we know that Florence was passionate about gardening and horticulture, and she brought the outdoors in with floral arrangements. And so I'll pass the mic over to Robin, our curator of collections, who will tell us a bit about floral arranging.
Hello, welcome. I thought we'd talk a little bit about how we handle floral arrangements in the ranch house. Up until just a few years ago, we were using fresh flowers in the house, but they were changed out weekly. But it was decided that it would be much better practice to go faux. So we didn't want to worry about the overall humidity from water in the vases or leaks or spills on historic surfaces or little critters migrating in on the flowers. So we moved into artificial. Fortunately, around that same time, advancements in the making of much better looking flowers and greenery occurred. We don't know for certain if Florence herself arranged flowers. It was probably the job of the housekeeper. We do know that Florence loved flowers. She dedicated several gardens to them, including the Friendly Garden, the Cutting Garden, and the Rose Garden, which you're going to be visiting soon. We change our arrangements seasonally. Currently, we have roses here on the library table for spring. We also try to find faux versions of plants and flowers that grow up on the ranch. As you came in the front, you may have noticed calla lilies on the table. And as you go out the back, you'll see not only more roses, but sweet peas in the vase. And all those things are blooming on the ranch right now. Like fashion, floral arranging changes and evolve over time. We use for inspiration period magazines and books like this one from 1933, The Arrangement of Flowers. Here we have a collection of vases, and you'll notice there is a cornucopia vase very similar to ours. And this book is filled with period arrangements to give us ideas of how to arrange flowers from that era. As you've heard, we interpret to the 20s and 30s. We have no photo documentation of floral arranging in the house. So we have to interpret using our inspirations. So our ideas are probably a little more formal and abundant than Florence would have had. In our cornucopia vase, we have, this was created for late summer, early fall by our floral designer, Monica Kovach, who we will be seeing in a few minutes. And she was able to find faux pepper tree greenery, which we have pepper trees growing all over the site. So that was a wonderful addition to this particular arrangement. It is quite formal though. This one is a little more simple and rustic, and I think probably more realistic to a ranch home. And I can just see the housekeeper going out into the garden and gathering up a bunch of black-eyed Susans and plopping them in a vase and putting them on the table. So that's all for this little segment. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Robin. Yes, we'd be happy to take a question or two before we start making our way outdoors. You can type them into the chat and Amber can shout them out, or we can unmute and shout out a question. Are the vases original to the house? Great question.
They are not. These two were both donated by a volunteer who actually was a long-time floral designer here.
Thank you.
We do have some that we use, but mostly we use donated vases or purchased.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Marion. We're going to start making our way outdoors. So we'll be leaving the library and heading into one of our gardens, the Rose Garden. So I'm coming back to that main hallway where we began our tour this morning. And I'd like to pause just by the back door here to share a few more of those faux arrangements that Robin was mentioning. Well, one arrangement and a display suggesting floral arranging. So we've got the vase of sweet peas here that Robin mentioned, as well as some roses that look as if they've just been cut from the rose garden we'll be visiting in just a moment. I also want to mention the labor that it took to maintain and care for these gardens. Florence was a hands-on gardener and worked out in the gardens herself. We've got some clippers and a pair of gardening gloves here with her monogram, Florence Green Bixby, to speak to that role that she played. There were also some ranch workers who assisted in the care of the gardens during the time that the Bixby family lived here. And of course, today we have a wonderful team of horticulture staff and dedicated garden volunteers who care for our gardens and keep them looking much in the character of the 20s and 30s. So we will bid you all adieu for now. We're going to head out with our camera into the Rose Garden. And while we move our camera setup, Amber will share a little bit more with you all about the gardens generally.
I do see a question about were there potted plants in the house? And I don't know the answer to that question. Does Robin or Katie know the answer?
There may have been long ago, but they're not now. They're all faux.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
All right.
So we will let Robin and Katie and Marion make their way out to the Rose Garden. And we'll take a little bit of a tour through history here for a minute while they move. What you're looking at here is a map of our site today, just the gardens. And if you were imagining you were here with us, you would start at the top left where it says Rancho Los Alamitos and enter the garden gate. For our current public hours, this is the route that's open. You would enjoy the native garden to the cactus garden. You can enjoy the jacaranda walk, where if you look down to the earth beneath your feet, you'll see that you're on the ancient kitchen midden of the Tongva who lived here at Puvunga, or the Puvuve Tom, they would have called themselves. The friendly garden here that you heard a little bit about, where Florence planted flowers and plants that her friends gifted her. And then around to the geranium walk, to the rose garden on the bottom left. So that's where we will meet back up with our tour guides. And you can see a picture of the cutting garden on the right with this interesting cistern in the forefront here. If you visit us at a time when the friendly garden or the cutting garden is open, you'll look down into this giant cistern and notice there's all of these little rings. That's where the cut flowers would have been able to be put in water while they were preparing to make bouquets from them. Let's make sure we're seeing my pictures here. There we go. Okay. Today, you can see some of the gardens that we've talked about, what they look like in modern times. On the bottom left, again, is that friendly garden with its beautiful pond and just such gorgeous flowers growing all around. On the top, you've got the geranium walk, full of these beautiful bright red geraniums, which our volunteers and ground staff just repropagated. So they're looking really rich and beautiful. And then you can see the cactus garden on the right. But it didn't always look like this. Here is a postcard from the 1920s, an oil well in every backyard. Industry in Long Beach was growing up with the oil strikes during this time, which brought wealth to the Bixby family. And the landscape really began changing from a vast rural ranch land. If you can imagine Rancho Los Alamitos and this hilltop being in the middle of nowhere, virtually, and it turns into this growing industrial and urban center. And the landscape changes over this time. And as it did so, so did Florence's gardens. And so she was able to collaborate with landscape designers to create this series of serene personal gardens for her family and the people who worked at the ranch to enjoy. All right, so again, here's those images we just saw. The geranium walk on top was designed with Florence Yoke, who is a Pasadena landscape designer of the firm Yoke and Council. And this is one of the earlier transformations of the gardens that we see today. It transformed what had been sort of a rough children's play area, the south lawn, into this elegant walkway that we can enjoy today. The friendly garden, again, on the left, was designed with the Olmsted brothers and was a place that Florence cultivated those cuttings and gifts from friends and family. And these two gardens, as you can see, contrast with other spaces that have a more natural feel to them, like our native garden and the cactus garden that you see on the bottom right. And here we can look at these gardens in their past glory. So these pictures were taken, I believe, all in 1928. So there's the friendly garden, historically much less shady. The geranium walk, when it was a little bit newer, and the cactus garden with much smaller specimens than we get to enjoy today. What's important about these gardens, besides the fact that they're this important place for serenity and peacefulness, they're really a great expression of Florence's agency. She was able to make decisions and impact change in the landscape through through her gardens. So now we are going to send it back over to Katie. It looks like they're just getting set up there. I'm going to check my chats and see if we have any questions. And then we'll join Katie and Marion in the Rose Garden. So we saw it historically, and now we see it today. It occurs to me I didn't get to the historic slide. Hold on just a minute. We have one more picture because it's a really great show. There we go. I missed one. So that's the historic image. And here they are today. It looks a little bit different. We can't see the fields beyond there anymore or the sea. We will come back to the question about the faux flowers in a little bit when we get back to the arranging. Hi, Katie. Welcome back.
Hi, everybody. We are now outdoors here in the Rose Garden. We were talking a little bit inside about how floral arrangements were a way to bring the outdoors in. And here in the Rose Garden, we'll talk a little bit about bringing the indoors out. So we'll head down into the garden and talk a little bit about the history of this space. So as you heard from Amber, in the 20s, oil and industry were bringing a lot of changes to Long Beach, and they brought a lot of changes here to the Rancho as well. An oil strike on Bixby land brought wealth that enabled many of these gardens to be developed. And in 1927, Florence began working with the Olmsted Brothers firm of Brookline, Massachusetts on the design of this rose garden we're in now, as well as several of the other garden areas here at the Rancho. And as Amber was mentioning, Florence had a distinct vision for these gardens, and she worked with these designers to create her vision here, rather than going exactly as the designers suggested she should. So here in this rose garden, the Olmsted Brothers firm initially suggested there should be grassy pathways, there should be a lily pond, there should be a whole separate rose cutting garden, but we see none of those things here today. Instead, we see Florence's vision, which was for this space to really be an outdoor room. So Marion's doing sort of a pan around now, and we'd love for you to take a close look at this garden space. And if there are features here that strike you as an outdoor room or features of any kind of room, go ahead and type them into the chat and share what you think with us. So you might be noticing now some of the furniture on the olive patio. Furniture definitely something that we have in an indoor space. You might be noticing the brick floor as well as the walls that surround us, along with some of those gates. There's also some artwork in this space that we can pan to. There's a Madonna and Child plaque on the opposite wall from where we're looking at now. And so there's features here that show us how these kind of components of an indoor space were being brought outdoors in the garden design. So that idea of sort of indoor-outdoor living was important to Florence and her family, and is something that I think many of us living in Southern California today can identify with. And so that's what we would like to share with you today about Florence's passions for education and for gardening. The roses in this garden are special as well. They're heritage and heirloom varieties. So each of the flowers have a story to tell, and we hope that you'll come and visit us here at the Rancho to explore more of our garden spaces, see especially these ones that provided fresh blooms for inside the house here in the rose garden, the cutting garden, the friendly garden, and we hope to see you here in person one day soon. So thanks for following along with us on this virtual tour. I'll send it back to Amber to introduce our next segment, and then we'll see you back in time for our arranging demonstration. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Katie. We are now going to pop over to our local urban farmer, Sasha Kanno, who is the executive director of Farm Lot 59, which has been around for over 10 years in Long Beach. And here we've got Sasha. Welcome. Good morning. It's so nice to see you today.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
My name is Sasha, and I run Farm Lot 59, and like it was mentioned, we've been here 10 years. A little bit about our farm is we are a half acre. We lease from the city of Long Beach. We are just north of Sunnyside Cemetery off of California Avenue in between Willow and Spring Street. Our property is surrounded by 50 acres of Long Beach Park and Recreation. There's a park on the top of us off of Orange Avenue. It's called Longview Park. And if you want free mulch for your garden, they have mulch piles in their parking lot that's available for pickup all the time. And then they have a little lookout viewpoint that our farm can be viewed from up there. Our farm history is, our name comes from a map that we found from 1881, and it was farm lot parcel number 59, as best as we could tell. We were kind of going off of the waterways that were on the map, and Spring Street and Willow Street, and how we could kind of figure out that we would have been farm lot parcel number 59. Of course, after the fact, you look a little closer and maybe we were 58 or 57, I don't know, but it was too late after that. So 59. But like the rest of our story that we're hearing today, once there was oil discovered in this area, there were no farms. So it took us until 2010 to have a farm here at Farm Lot 59. And on our farm, we grow food that we donate to the food pantry at 14th Street. That's part of Catholic Charities. And we also have chef partners that help us create meals for women and children in transitional housing at the Elizabeth and Sutton House. That's part of Villages of Cabrillo. To support our efforts, we do fundraising and we have a flower subscription program. So this is why I'm part of your group talk today. It's because of all of our specialty flowers that we grow. And thank you to all of you who purchased bouquets from us for your class today. I'm very excited to see what you create and how you use our blooms. And Monica made a beautiful arrangement with our stuff too. And I will walk around in just a little bit and show you some things that we're growing here. And one of our guests that picked up this morning wanted me to go over the ingredients that are in the bouquet. So I'd be more than happy to tell you that there is sea holly is probably the one that is unrecognizable to most. It's a thistle and it is really great dried as well. So after your arrangement is expired, you could pick out those blooms and hang them and dry them. And you don't have to hang them, but when you do hang them upside down, it just makes the stems dry in a more straight is all. It's not a big deal. But we have a flower subscription program where you can purchase a subscription, and we have 2 pickup locations. Every week you go and get flowers from the Wine Country on Redondo Avenue or Colossus Bakery on 2nd Street. And it's a great way to just have seasonal flowers and flowers in your home every week. And we grow them here on our farm. We also do volunteer days once a month. If you're interested in coming to tour our farm, that would be the best day. You don't have to stay and volunteer. I won't tell anyone, but the farm is open to come walk around. And we do a newsletter, so that's really the best way to stay involved. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And I'll have the chat open as I walk around, and you are welcome to just turn on your mic too and ask me any questions. I'm gonna flip the camera around.
Thanks, Sasha. If anybody has questions you want to type in the chat, she and I will take turns working on that. Oh, hold on. I have to spotlight Sasha again because she turned her camera around. There we go. So I can help manage chats and questions.
Oh, sure.
Sasha,
Read them out. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question about the weekly subscription for flowers. So Sasha's showing us what's growing at the ranch. We'll just go over some of these questions.
The subscription is, each bouquet is $40. So the subscription is $200 for 5 weeks of flowers. And this is the sea holly growing. This was in today's arrangements. And they're just spectacular. They're so different and unique. And that's something that we really value that we're able to do because we grow by seed, is that we can grow rare and unique varieties of things. And we trial stuff. So this might look like weeds to you, but to us, it looks like tuberose trials. Here's Swiss chard and kale going to the food bank. We deliver every Tuesday. Here's our dahlia patches. And if you are growing dahlias, you know they get so bushy. So we have so many that we now do T-posts and string. And we've ended up raising up our labels so they don't get lost in all of the greenery that comes along. And we've just started to pinch them. Here is a different block with anise, nicotiana, oregano. We incorporate oregano into our meals as well as our bouquets. So we'll let this flower on the end and incorporate it. This is all peppers, eggplant, fennel. There's our greenhouse and our processing storage. And this is more flowers. These are asters, zinnias. We've started to breed a lot of zinnias lately. I really love the different colors and textures that you can get from breeding your own. These are Oklahoma salmons. We have Dusty Miller. Sunflowers are just coming up. This is another variety of zinnia, the Green Envy. There's just something very special about green flowers that you don't normally get to see. More dahlias. We'll come this way.
While Sasha is showing us around, you can keep putting questions in the chat, or feel free to call them out if you have questions about anything.
Yeah, growing practice or principle or any varieties, feel free to ask. We have a small orchard. This is Carissa. She's one of our farmers. Today they are working in the high tunnel. And we had a lot of our specialty flowers growing in here for Mother's Day. But because Mother's Day is over here, now it's tomatoes by the end of today. Hopefully that's the big goal.
So we have a question. What's your favorite flower? And I would ask everybody can put your own favorite flower into the chat. That we can see this variety, this bouquet of floral interests we have in the room here. So everybody type in the chat what your favorite flower is. And then Sasha, what is yours?
I mean, whatever's blooming, I have to say, is what I'm loving at the time. We just pulled out the sweet peas, and as soon as they start flowering, I love them. But I'm really in love with zinnias. There's just so many special varieties. There's so many different kinds. And now that we're getting into trialing them and breeding our own, I'm just in love with zinnias. So these are all zinnias. The celosia is also a favorite. These are big torch flames. They look kind of like the Lorax, my girlfriend likes to say. This is all antique yarrow. The Gumfrina, I also am in love with. I am growing much more this year than we had in the past. It's great fresh, it's great dried. So absolutely love Gumfrina.
I'm seeing so many beautiful responses too from Martha Washington geraniums, sweet peas, remembering us of our parents growing them. I have sweet peas growing in my garden, and it's one of the things we grow annually at the Rancho too. They're just so beautiful. We saw a bouquet in the ranch house, right? tomatoes, magnolias, phlox, daphnes, sweet peas, gardenias. I named my daughter Dahlia because I love those big dinner plate dahlias and those deep, rich colors. So many beautiful flowers. And in California, we can grow so many things.
Absolutely. These scabiosas I let overwinter from last year, and the height on them is just stunning. These are taller than me. So those I think are very special. We also grow cotton here. These little short shrubs are cotton that I think is very interesting. Here's some of it on the ground. We collect seeds, and a lot of people that travel with, see if I can turn me around again. People travel and bring us seeds from all over the world too. So we have carnation and stock seeds from Turkey. We have some different greens and cresses and things like that from Thailand. So anything that's rare and unusual, we like to really get our hands on and try here and see if we can grow it in our climate. This was our sweet pea patch, which sadly will get mowed in today. We also grew a lot of delphiniums, and here's some of the delphiniums. They're still here, which are so special. And the digitalis are a little late to the party. They missed the Mother's Day party, unfortunately. But here are some of the big shoots coming up, and they will get, 4 or 5 feet tall, which is pretty amazing. Here's some of the gomphrena, these little strawberry fields. This was from my trials last year. And some yarrow. We do have the pollinator patches at the end of the rows where we leave. These are all Shasta daisies. Will eventually flower. We have some echinacea. So lots of things. I do love roses though. We have some of the David Austins and some of the garden roses, and I really think we should grow more roses. I just love them so much. But thank you for having me. And if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them or
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sasha. If anybody has any other questions, you can shout them out real quickly here or type them in the chat. I love seeing the mixture of flowers and food. It's so beautiful. And it's really neat to know that we can grow flowers and food on this urban farm right in the middle of our city, right in the middle of Long Beach. That's really exciting to me.
Yes,
So.
and in this kind of biofence method that we have here, we grow year round, and so far it's barely even growing season, and we've already been able to donate 800 pounds of produce to the food bank. So you really can make a difference, and you can feed not only yourselves and your friends, but your community as well. So we're happy to be here and happy to do the work that our community needs us to do.
Thank you so much, Sasha. I see. Yeah, this is so inspiring. I'm sharing maps so y'all can get a feel. Let's see if it'll go. We're at the Rancho down sort of on the bottom right, and Farm Lot 59 is sort of on the top left there. And I also put into the chat the website for Farm Lot 59 if you want to sign up for their newsletter or learn more about the work they do. So it's so wonderful to be able to have these community partnerships, and it looks like we're ready to go with the next part of our workshop. So bear with me while I switch around here again. We've got multiple things going on. All right, they're set up with the flower workshop, and bear with me one more minute while I get everything set up here. And we will go to the workshop portion. Katie, before I start the workshop component, do you have anything you want to add? Or Marian?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sasha. We're excited to begin the workshop portion of our morning, working with some of those Farm Lot 59 flowers that some of you have purchased and that others can kind of watch and get inspired for future arrangements. So Monica had a family commitment that prevents her from being live with us this morning, but we have a fantastic video with her to play so that you can see her working with the Farm Lot 59 flowers. And then Marian here will be working on her own her own arrangement while we go, so that we can show you a live compilation here at the end. So we will send it over to Monica from last week, and Marian's going to be working at the same time. So that's how we'll proceed. Thanks, Amber.
Fantastic. And you all can continue to put questions in the chat, and we'll kind of tackle them as we go through or address them at the end. And for those who brought bouquets or have your own flowers, feel free to work along with us. That's what Marian's going to do as well. Here we go.
I guess I should probably introduce myself. I'm Monica, and I've been a very happy volunteer here for, well, 23 years, since 1998. Our family had come up to the rancho many, many times with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and all kinds of family friends and whatever. And so when my youngest child went off to college, I said, gee, I really need to pay back and, pay back the rancho for all the wonderful memories that we have. So I started doing the public outreach programs, which were always wonderful. And then I got into hospitality, and then I became the president of the Volunteer Service Council. And then I got into the bookworms, and then faux food, and now I'm on the floral team. And I think that kind of illustrates the beauty of the rancho, is that there are so many volunteer opportunities, and they can overlap. You don't have to be pigeonholed into only one type of volunteer. You can do many, many different volunteer opportunities. So anyway, I'm a big supporter of the rancho. You probably know that by now. So now let's talk about some flowers. So a beautiful arrangement always begins with the flowers that you buy or you cultivate. And one tip I wanted to give you is that when you're at the market or wherever you're buying the flowers, you might want to look inside the bucket, just take a little peek and say, "Ooh, that's dry," or "That's got water in it." So what you want is your flowers to be hydrating even before you buy them. So if you have two choices and you have flowers that are in a bucket that has no water, and you know that they're not hydrating, they're losing life, and the one next to it has water in it, I would always opt for that one. Now, the ones that are in the bucket that has no water, you're going to go home and you're going to hydrate them anyway, but it's kind of giving you a leg up to know that they've been properly cared for before you receive those flowers. So that, I think, is really important. And then you want to make sure that when you get the floral food that you get with the market or wherever, make sure that you use that, because they really need that. Flowers are a lot like people. When we get tired, or we don't drink our water during the day, or we don't eat when we're supposed to, we kind of are slumping like this. And flowers do the same thing. It's really true. And, you don't want to see flowers like that, because flowers need to be, vibrant and beautiful. So think of your floral food, as like a cup of coffee for your flowers. It'll just jolt them right up. And one thing that I like to use, and this is a disclaimer for the rancho. The rancho is not endorsing this. I am doing this because I have found such good luck with it. Had such good luck with it. I use this. It's called Quick Dip, and you can get it online. But it really extends the life of the flowers. And so I'll show you how we're going to use that. But that, in addition to the preservative, I always use the Quick Dip because it extends the life so much. And when you make a beautiful bouquet, you want it as long as you can have it. So that's one thing that I really endorse. So now what we're going to do, when you get your flowers, the first thing you do is you take them out and you look at each one of them. So I'm going to just go through and show you how we're going to do this. So for each flower, you're going to go through, and you don't want any, like, see this little that little guy. You don't want that to go into your vase. You don't want any bacteria to get in there. So you're going to take your either your clippers or your floral knife, and you're going to cut about 2 inches off, and you're going to make an angle cut, not a straight cut. You're going to do an angle cut so that you have more surface area for the preservative to enter. So you just do the floral cut like that, and then you're going to put it in, if you haven't, the quick dip for like 3 seconds. This is like magic stuff. It's really good. So put that in there, and then you put it in your vase that has the water with the preservative in it. So that's your first step. You want to hydrate everything. Again, strip it if you need to. Do your 2-inch cut. I'll try to go through these as fast as I can. And just, you don't like, see over here, you don't want any of that. 2-inch cut. Cut, dip, and put it in the water. And if you get courageous, you can do 2 at a time to speed up the process. But that 2-inch cut is really important. Okay, and let's take this out. We have the beautiful the stock. Oh, it smells good. Wonderful fragrance on that. And then we have the eucalyptus. So this is a woody stem. You don't really need to put it in quick dip, but that doesn't stop me from doing it. So I do it all the time. Okay, so we have another little bucket over here for the eucalyptus. And we'll do this.
And all these beautiful flowers came from Farm Lot 59. So this is a nice way to see some of what's in season there right now that Monica's working with.
And these are the sweet peas. Nice, nice, nice. So, and then we have some other sweet peas down here. So you want to take that little bit off. We don't want any bacteria to grow. And the floral food, and I'm going to read you this because I don't have this memorized. It has an antibacterial to keep them fresher longer. It has a wetting agent so that they drink better. And then it has food to keep the flowers fed. So that preservative is really, really important. I'm sure when you all use that, I'm sure that you're not throwing that away. But it is really important.
If anybody has questions along the way, feel free to type those in the chat, and then I'll share them with Monica as we go. Feel free to type those in there.
Look at how pretty that is, and the fragrance. It's a twofer. I think we've got a couple more over here. You have to be careful with the tendrils on the sweet pea. They attach to everything. These I'm just going to cut all at once. And it is good to have a trash can or something. Or you could do it in your sink too, to put the cuttings into. But you want to make sure when you're doing the cutting, you don't want to, chew it up. You want to make a nice firm cut, nice straight cut. Okay, so we've got that. And then let's put these thistle. Look at this thistle. Just look at this thistle. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Look at the purples, the greens. How lovely is that? Okay, now that we're done conditioning the flowers, you have everything set aside. Now, what you would normally do, I always do this, after you've done the quick dip and the preservative, let it drink for 2 hours. You can start working with them right away, but I think if you really want the flowers to rehydrate and to stand up proud and look as beautiful as they were meant to be, let them, as a minimum, let them drink for 2 hours. Preferably overnight. So if I'm doing something, an event or whatever, I would buy the flowers the day before, put everything in the preservative, do all the prep work, let them stay overnight, and then the next day I would do the arrangements. So that's, preferably that's what you would want to do. So now that we've talked about the flowers and the conditioning, let's talk about the containers that we can use. So we've got, lots of options. I'm sure you have lots of vases at home. We have the regular vase here. And if you want to do something just a little bit different, just get, any color paint, coordinate it with whatever you're doing. And you can make that simple vase into something that's a little more interesting. So that's just one little idea for that. And then this is not a commercial for Almond Breeze, but this is something that you can do also. I've done this a lot of times. If you're having an event, baby shower, or, anniversary party, birthday party, whatever, you can just get a milk carton or a juice carton, whatever, which are great because they are already waterproof. You use just a box if you want to cover just a box. Then you have to get a liner for it. You have to put maybe a plastic bag in it. That's probably the best use of a plastic bag is putting it in here. But anyway, these are already waterproof. So what I like to do, and this says, congrats, happily ever after. So that could be, for an anniversary party or a wedding, whatever. So I like to use the wrapping paper, and then I use tacky glue, which is a great product. Glue in a can, can't beat it. And then I always, when you're spraying, it does get all over. So I either do it in a trash can, holding it down, or I have a box on the side. And I just do a quick spray all over. And you have 2 minutes with this before it actually dries. So you don't have to work too fast, but you don't have to dilly-dally either. So put it towards the bottom here, and then just do your fold and bring it over. And I've had little notches in it, so I sort of know where I want it. And then just bend it down like that. And so then you have a container for your flowers. Ta-da! That's it. So that's just another container. But this is nice because, you can coordinate your whole theme to your flowers to the whole theme that you have going on. So that's another idea. But what we're going to do today, we're going to do something a little bit different. I was thinking that we need something kind of organic because of the farm connection that we have. So this is a 7-inch cylinder vase, just a regular cylinder vase, straight sides. And I thought it would be fun to put some asparagus in there and make it a lovely little asparagus arrangement. So I'm just going to use a few more. Let's see if I can. It's not hard. The hardest part is getting the asparagus that is actually sort of straight, but you can kind of finesse it. You can kind of, talk to it and ask it to please move where it's supposed to be. And it works pretty good. Let's see, maybe one more. So that in there. Let's see, let's try. We'll do one more. Let's see, straight one. There we go. I think that will do. That should, there. So there's our vase. That's a little bit different. It kind of has that organic feel to it. And so then you want to put your water in it that has your prep, your flower food. Put that in there. There you go. And now we're ready to start designing. So the first thing that I would do is make a collar around it with your greenery. So we're going to use the leaf eucalyptus. Let's take that out. And we don't need too much. So it's just going to be a light, airy, kind of a wildflower look today. It's not really over designed. Just nature's pretty good. You don't really need to fool with it too much. So we'll just start doing that. And we'll do this. So maybe 3. And I'm giving you suggestions, but as my teacher used to say, it's your dime, and whatever you want to do is just fine. So I'm just giving you suggestions on how I might do this. So I think that was pretty good. We'll just leave that there for now. Okay. All right, then let's go with the, oh, you know what? I do want to do can always add more, you know, at any point. You don't have to tie it into anything. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, that's there. Okay, so let's go with the sweet pea now. Take those out. That's a nice tall one. So you probably would want that one kind of right in the middle. That would be maybe your focal point there. And just make a nice little rim. Oh, and you know what I also use? I use a Lazy Susan, because then you can turn your arrangement around and you can make sure that you're addressing all sides. Put that in there. And give them another little cut with the sweet peas. You wouldn't have to do a 2-inch cut, maybe just like a 1-inch cut, but you just want to make sure that it's a fresh cut. And just, you know, whatever looks good to you, whatever makes you happy as the designer on that. These are lovely with that. Look at that nice long stem. How pretty is that? Nice. Now this one has a little bit of greenery that I missed, so I'm not going to miss it a second time. It's gone. It's gone. Okay. All right. So you're just going to do what looks pleasing to you, and if you have more flowers than you think you need, just, you know, set those aside. I used to think if I was given flowers like in a class, I had to use all of them, and I finally learned you don't. You know, do what looks good to you. You can have a whole second arrangement, maybe give it to a neighbor or something, you know, with what's left over. So just do what you think looks good to you. And these are going to have to come off too. Let's put that one right there. Maybe a little more red. Got one more little red one that wants to come here.
Hi, the question that I have is about the quick dip. I noticed that you had put everything in quick dip after your initial cutting, and then now you're clipping it off. Can you tell me really how the quick dip works with the flowers and what's the real purpose of it?
For this demonstration, we did not allow it. We weren't allowed. It didn't work out that we let it drink overnight. But if you put it in and preserve it the night before, it drinks all night. So you can cut that stem off and it still has the product in it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. It really is, you know, I used to be really fearful of making arrangements with hydrangea because they're, you know, they can go south pretty quick. And as soon as I found that, I said, oh man, hydrangeas any day of the week. I mean, it's really a great product. So
there was another related question about that, about how much extra time might it add?
Oh, I would say at least 3 days, at least 3 days, probably more. I've had things last, like arrangements, like centerpieces for weddings and stuff, 10 days. So, you know, it's not I haven't scientifically proved that that's what it is, but in my heart, I know, I feel like it's a really good product. So, and I don't own stock in the company, so that's not why I'm saying that, but I just really think it's a wonderful product. So this is kind of our wildflower look that we have. And this one I'm going to take off here and that. And let's put that one right here. Okay, so it's simple. It doesn't take a lot of overthinking to do it. Just, you know, whatever you think looks good. And for this, I probably should, in case anybody wants to do it, I use two bunches of asparagus because you can't always rely on, you know, every piece of asparagus being what you need as far as straight. So I buy a little bit extra, which my husband loves. But I'd rather have too much than not enough. So, okay, so we just cut the thistle, and I just love that. Did you get a close up of this? Oh, get me out of the way. Anyway, I just think this is such a nice product. So again, it's not, we don't want to overthink this. We just want to enjoy it. and I do want to say something about that. You know, with all this COVID stuff that's been going on, there's been a lot of stress. And on the days when I have felt really stressed, I go to the market and I buy some flowers and I go home and I make my arrangement. And I do think, you know, it's almost therapeutic. So that might be something that somebody would like to try also. But it's very relaxing just to do this. And it's so nice to have, you know, fresh flowers on the table. And, you know, I just think it makes you feel good. So let's see, let's get one. We have one kind of long one. We don't. This is going to be long. Yeah. Okay, and then we have, this is so funny. This is Queen Anne's lace, which I have tried to grow. I can't tell you how many times. And I do think it's a weed. But I just love the way it looks. But I love that we're using it today because it's got that nice airy look to it. And now this has the greenery here that we definitely would want to take off. We wouldn't want that in the water because if you have the more of the foliage that you have in the water, the faster the water is going to pick up bacteria. So that's what you don't want. So see how pretty that looks. It just gives it that nice airy look. Oh, that's a nice one too. And what you can also do, you know, if you have something like this, you can segment it. So you could cut this one off here and then you'd have two stems. Or if you like the way it looks, you know, you can just use the one. So you just, you know, really look at the product and as my teacher used to say, let the flowers speak to you. So, and just do what you think looks great.
So how full do you fill the vase with water, Monica?
I have it probably 3/4 of the way up. Because you want it, you want all the flowers to be able to touch the water. So you don't want to put it just at the bottom because then you're going to lose some of the stems. So you just, I would do like 3/4 of the way. And then about every other day, I would not change the water, but what I do instead of, let me show you this.
Every other day.
Instead of taking the flowers out and then rinsing the bowl, the container, I just get the flowers like this, and then I run it under the faucet, letting the water flush it out. And then when this is clear, then I just put them back in. So then you don't have to rearrange the whole thing. So, and I don't put more preservative in at that point. Anyway, that's one thing that we can do. So I'm going to put one more of these. And then the last thing the last little tip that I had, also, if you're doing an arrangement, you might want some extra greenery around your yard. Now, I think it's really nice to go outside. This is a camellia branch. And I think those leaves are really pretty and they add a different color to the arrangement. So I have geraniums in the backyard that I use quite a bit. And especially if you're just doing a vase and you want to do a collar around it, these big leaves work really well. And the reason you want to make a collar around it, I should have told you this before, the floral concept is called breaking the line. So you want to break the line between the container and the flowers. You don't want it to look like two separate things. You want it to look like one complete arrangement. So that's breaking the line. And that's an important thing to do. And then the other thing when you're putting in the flowers, which again, I should have told you before, it's called the point of radiation. So there's an imaginary point in the middle of your arrangement and everything is going to radiate out from that. Like, think of it like spikes. So everything is going to go into that center point and that's going to give you the nice airy look to it. So I'm going to just cut this actually a little bit shorter. I'm going to put that in. That'll give us another little look there. And cut this one. Now this one I'm going to segment because I could use that little one also. So we'll cut that there. And we'll put this one over right here. It also kind of widens up your arrangement too. Remember, if you segment it, then you want to look at what you have down below, and you don't want to have any leaves or anything in the water. So that in here. I think I've got, yeah, let's do one more here. Oh, and one other thing I should have mentioned to you. I guess I should have written stuff down. Before you start designing, it's really good to think about where you're going to have your flowers on display. So if you're going to do them, let's say against a fireplace or against a wall in a corner or something, you want to do a 180. It's called a 180 arrangement. So everything is, all the flowers are going to be, you know, you're going to see them from the front. But if you're going to put it on, let's say, a kitchen table or a dining room table, you do a 360, and that's what this is. So you're going to be able to see it from all sides. So before you even start designing, you need to think about where, you know, where you're going to have it displayed, because you want it, you know, you want to put it in the best light possible after you've done all that fun work. So, and I think this one will go right here. And I don't know if I'm not even going to put in the hydrangea. The geranium, because I think this is going to be enough right here. So the last thing I would tell you as far as a tip is, you know, it's always good to keep your flowers chilled at night. So what I do, I take the arrangement and I put it outside, which is equivalent to being in a refrigerator overnight. And that also extends the life of the arrangement. So that's all I have for you today. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll have some opportunities to do some flower arranging, because it is really nice and therapeutic. And it's nice to make little arrangements. And we used to do them for the care centers, and we would put them in, we would put paper around yogurt containers, just little ones, and give those out. So it's nice to always share the flowers. So anyway, thank you for joining me and us today. I guess that's all I have.
Thank you, Monica.
You're welcome.
Do you have any recommendations for covering those rubber bands?
Oh, yes, I do. Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. Thank you, Amber. Yeah. Okay. So this will be a little different. See, I guess I should have notes, but anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to put this ribbon around it, the right way, hopefully, like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a little notch like this, because it's always nicer when you, even if you wrap a gift, instead of having just a straight cut on the ribbon, it's always, I think it shows better down here. It's always better to have a notched cut. It looks just a little more professional. Like that. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do, and you have to remember, you fold your ribbon in half, and you cut into the fold. And then that makes your chevron. Okay? So then we're going to use the tacky glue again. And I'm going to spray, this one I'll do. I'm just going to spray a little bit right on the flat end. Whoa.
I'm concerned about the asparagus dying.
You know what? It's not going to last forever, but you're going to get probably, I would say you could probably get 5 days out of that at least, maybe longer. Now you could put it in water overnight too, and that would extend the life of it. You know, just lift this up and put it in a bowl of water. Like this is what I have over here.
That is just beautiful, Monica. Does anybody have any other questions for Monica about the arranging? I'm not seeing any. All right, so that wraps up our workshop for today.